Hola a todos, soy Señora Tobin. Hi everyone, it's Señora Tobin. We're going to continue our way to conjugate Spanish verbs by moving into the ER and IR verb endings. So, we learned how to conjugate AR verbs in the last video. Now we're going to be doing ER and IR verbs. Now they are similar to AR verbs in the present tense and how you conjugate them. However, the endings are a little bit different. Remember that conjugating a verb means putting them in all the correct forms so they match a subject. And we're doing present tense. So we want to say things like I eat an apple, not I to eat an apple. Okay? So for the ER and IR verbs, we want to do similar 2 steps as the AR verbs. So we remove the ending, in this case it's ER or IR in the infinitive, and you're going to add the following endings depending on the subject. So I have 2 charts here. There's a chart for ER endings, verbs that end in ER. These are the endings that you use for conjugating in the present tense. And this is the IR endings for verbs that end in IR. Now, these actually are exactly the same. The endings for the present tense, ER and IR infinitives, are exactly the same except for the nosotros form, which I've highlighted here. So both the yo forms end in O, meaning you remove the ER or IR, you add an O. For the to form, it's both ES. For the he, she, or you formal form, or ele, usted, it's E. For the ER ending in nosotros, it's hemos. For the nosotros form in IR verbs, it's imos. Then the they form, ellos, ellos, ustedes, it ends, both the ER and the IR verbs end in ein. Okay? Alright, so let's practice an ER ending. Now, you have comer, which is the infinitive. We know it's an infinitive because it ends in ER. So you remove the ER, you subtract ER, and you add the correct ending. Okay, so yo como is I eat. Tú comes, you eat. Él, ella, usted come, he or she eats. Nosotros comemos, we eat. And ellos, ellos, ustedes comen, they eat. Now, notice how it doesn't say tú como, which would mean you, I eat. That doesn't really make sense. Okay, so that's why these endings correspond with these subjects. Now let's practice an IR ending verb. Escribir means to write. So if we want to conjugate escribir in all of these subjects, you want to subtract the IR, okay? You want to remove the IR ending and add the correct one. So, yo escribo is I write, tú escribes, you write, él, ella, usted escribe, he or she writes, nosotros escribimos, we write, ellos, ellas, ustedes escriben, they write. All of these match, all these endings match with the subject, and you started with the infinitive, and you got to these words, these verbs, by removing the IR and adding the correct endings. Alright, so now it's time for you to practice the following verbs in as any form that you'd like, and as many times as you need to master conjugation, or conjugating these ER and IR verbs. Okay, if you need a little bit of help, here's a couple examples that you can practice. These are the subjects. Here's the verb that I want you to conjugate in these forms. So you want to conjugate comer into the yo form. You want to conjugate describir into the to form. And the same for the rest of them, okay? Using the subjects here. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Come back again soon. Adios!